We're in studio today with Professor Tinyiko Maluleke from the University of Pretoria. He's an advisor to the Vice-Chancellor. Professor, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
You were speaking today here at Gibs about structural racism. There's lots of debate in South Africa around this issue of race relations and reconciliation. What is the state of this issue in the country, and what is this idea of structural racism?
Well, I think it is the heart of racism, actually. The core of racism is institutional. And we make a grave mistake when we regard racism only as a matter of individual attitude and individual behavior, individual utterances, or even a matter between individuals. I think this is the mistake the country has made over the past 20 years. Not to recognize the historical nature of racism, the structural nature of it, and the fact that it embeds itself in institutions for its survival over the centuries. And until we address that, we will not be able to deal or to overcome the problem of racism.
As we see these debates around reconciliation and dealing with these embedded institutional issues play out, one might say that there's a battle going on between an approach that is deconstructive, those who would want to disrupt and see things fall, versus a debate that is constructive, those who would want to say, well, let's put up new statues, build new institutions. I was reminded of a recent comment by Archbishop Thabo Makgoba, who said we should begin to call for those things that we want to see rise in our society. How do we deal with these issues in a way that is both deconstructive of wrongs but constructive as well?
Yeah, I don't think we have such a stark and easy choice in real life. We have to fix this vehicle while it's on motion, unfortunately, because we can't stop the country and say, you know, until we have fixed racism, we are not going to move forward. We have to do this even as we continue with the normal business of being a country. I think what we need to recognize, though, is that racism is bad for business. Racism, and by business I don't just mean profit in the narrow sense of the word. It's bad for universities, it's bad for NGOs, it's bad for the objectives of a bank, it's bad for development. It pulls us back, it slows us down, it locks up talent, and it stunts our growth. It assaults the dignity of people and lessen their ability to contribute to the economy. And I think that if we recognize that, then we don't have to stop. We must just make sure that we fix our structures, our institutions, in such a manner that they go beyond criminalizing just the individuals, but looking at the policies, looking at the practices, and looking at the prevailing culture within the institutions and within the country.
Part of the challenge we have is, as a society in South Africa, we've never really been free from these issues of power relationships, dominance of one group over the other. We've never really had an opportunity to be just a normal society where we are free to be who we are. As we go into the future, how do we get away from replacing one hegemony with another hegemony? Is there a way of building a society in which we're not anti-something, but we're actually pro-something?
I don't know that combating racism is being anti-anything. I think racism is anti-human. So the anti here is racism, because racism says what is important about human beings is the shape of their nose, the size of their lips, and the color of their eyes, the kind of hair that sits on their head, that those things are more important than their talent and their potential to contribute to human development. That is the anti-thing that we need to get rid of. So the society we want to build is not oppositional, it's not anti-anything, it is normal. You see, the normal society is what we are aiming for. This is a society where people and companies will connect with what is true, what is most beneficial, and they will not look at you in terms of your skin color before either they employ you or utilize your ideas. It means that companies will start to tap the talent, the full talent that is available to them, that the country will stop fishing in a small pond when the pond is much bigger. So it's not oppositional at all. The quest is for a true humanity, if I may quote Steve Biko in one of his best essays, that this is what we are striving for.
Some would say that that's a utopia, that in many instances, if you look at philosophers like Foucault, would argue that we are by nature contested individuals that form relationships in a contested way. How do we elevate the conversation in South Africa to this element of a humanist or a dignity-based level where we see the dignity in each other? How do we do that?
Well, you know, there are two sicknesses which are very bad, which we need to get rid of. You know, when you or I need you to be short for me to feel tall, that is a serious sickness that we need to get out of. Call it what you may. You can call it racism, whatever the name is that you call it. It is a sickness. And the other is where I need you not to stand up straight and look me in the face and walk with me hand in hand so that we contribute together. I need you to be looking down, to be bent down, to be smaller. For me to progress. That's a sickness. So you talk about an utopia. I don't know that that is an utopia. I think that the problem is that the racist society, racial society, is not just the opposite of an utopia. It stops us dead on our tracks as human beings, as companies, as a country, as institutions. And what we need is a better and a different society.
Professor, thank you for talking to us.
Okay.